Okay, people. So now it's October 15th, 2015. So I'm pretty much done with the city now, people. Minus that letter that I wrote. Right? In terms of putting things to rest. Right? Now, I was out there yesterday. I met Mark. Right? We went through the yard. He just wants me to tarp up a couple of things just so that the looky-loos basically don't have a reason to start up trouble. Right? Now, I doubt that will solve that problem, a couple of tarps, because I'm pretty sure a lot of this is related to Uncle John and the fact that I didn't drop the ball on him, people. Again, you're not going to have someone in your life for 35 years plus, have them live with you for 23 years, have them help you raise the children, go through thick and thin. You know how many times we greased ourselves down for the nonprofit? Lots of times, people. Lots of times. We went through some really hard knocks under the BC Liberal government. And we stuck together, as Uncle John would say. Stick together as a family, and that's what we did. So, I'm not dropping the ball on Uncle John. I sent Fraser Health Authority, the lawyer, a little paragraph letting them know I'm not dropping the ball. I'll read it to you. I'm answering your email to inform you that I am not bending under threats of fines for trying to do what is right for Mr. Duncan and his immediate family. As you know, none of us have been treated fairly, and through the actions of Fraser Health Authority employees, they have left Mr. Duncan in isolation and his immediate family in extreme poverty, to which the court system is the only option I have in settling this matter. Fraser Health Authority is taking advantage of this situation and being prejudiced to where discrimination against Mr. Duncan's immediate family is clearly noted. Therefore, I do not agree with your terms to drop the lawsuit, notice of claim. Sincerely. So I don't know what kind of hot water that's going to get me in, people, because I'm telling you, none of this stuff happened until Uncle John went missing, and that's the bottom line. Right? If the Duncan clan can call up the Royal Bank and say, John didn't know what he was doing in the year 2000, he never agreed to joint credit card, even though he had gone bankrupt and he couldn't get one on his own, and that was the only way he could start establishing credit, and that was something that he wanted to do for himself in the year 2000, was to join up with me, because he couldn't get one on his own, because his wife made sure of that, bankrupted him time after time. Whatever. You get the point, right? If they're willing to do that and go that far and manipulate the bank, CIBC Bank, with a bunch of lies, insinuendos, defamation of character, right? And just because they're, one or two or three or four or five of them are all employed through the government, one way or another, because back in those days, it was through a friend, through a friend, through a relative, through a relative, through a relative. That's how John got his job, was through a relative. And that's how Joan got her job with the government, was through a relative. They were hiring relatives. Hey, there's positions in the government. I can get you in. I can get you in. Before you know it, you have the whole clan running the government. That's kind of like what's going on. If they can go as far as to cause all that trouble, you think they're going to stop with just the Royal Bank and CIBC Bank? Hell no, people. They're not going to just stop with that. Plus, my landlady seems to think that it's one of these homeowners in the near vicinity that wants this house. And even my landlord said that he's being pestered with random phone calls that come in from corporations that want to buy this house, right? In terms of individuals representing a company want to buy this house for condo development or townhouse development. Whether they're related to the owners that are in partnership with those corporations or whatever, the point is my landlords are being pressured to sell. So maybe doing 7 years of hard work in this yard is the only thing that actually saved this house. Outside of that, if the yard would be looking the way it was when I first moved in, it might be the first one down on the block, and if once they tear down the first house, then it's much easier to tear down all the other houses. And just so people know that I don't have a cell phone, check this out. I'm not going to exit out right now. Hold on. Hello? Hello? Oh, collection agency. Why am I not surprised? Anyway, I'm going down that rabbit hole. All right. I'll hold my ground, people. So, and of course, you know, I'm not out of the woods yet because of this timing with this contract with Andre. I'm not even getting all my money in terms of this contract where, you know, I got shortchanged in September. I was like short almost $200, which interrupted my rent, which I had to borrow off of my daughter. And thank God she had it, because if she didn't have it, I don't know what I would have done. But then I had to give it all back to her at the end of the month, which gave me even less money for this month. And then the money for this month didn't come in, and what money I did get isn't the full amount, and now I have to wait for a week or so as it being mailed from Victoria. So I don't know how this program is improved. All right. Where they put you on these 2-year contracts and then hold them over your head. Right? And because of what's going on with Uncle John, obviously somebody's trying to cause a lot of trouble. So I'm actually thinking of calling up the lawyer that helped me with Andre to get him home, just to inform him of what's been going on. Right? Because initially when Uncle John went missing, you know, I asked him, could social services come in here and take Andre away if I went out in the streets begging for money, asking for help, begging the camera, if you notice the camera didn't like that word, begging for money, asking for help for, you know, legal fees for Uncle John versus having to try and do this by myself like I am now and looking like an idiot because it's like a second language. And even though the court is supposed to be for the generic English population, you know, accessible to the public, you know, they kind of got set in their ways where, you know, it's not about the public anymore. It's about the routine and, you know, that staple income with, you know, lawyers within their category of what they do in a day in terms of a lawyer. And it's not even about the public, people. But I'm not afraid to face that battle. I'm not. Uncle John is worth it. My kids are worth it. My grandson is worth it. So I'm sure, you know, something will crop up down the line because these people that are like, you know, calling the city and calling MCFD and calling my landlords and, you know, just doing whatever they do, all right? And they won't stop. Because they're not being held accountable, right? All these anonymous phone calls that come in, they're not being held accountable for the gang stalking that they participate in, right? Just like YouTube with those thumbs down, you know, if you're going to be a thumbs down, you need to put your name to it so that if it continues on and it's apparent that it becomes a gang stalking and harassment, then, you know, somebody can go knocking on your door and hold you accountable for that kind of behavior because that's inappropriate. Right. So anyway, back to the city. So as far as I know, Mark is happy with the yard. And I worked out and I did the pond yesterday. I cleared it. Andre took a video of it. I was doing something else. I was weeding or something. So you should be able to see what the pond looks like from what he videotaped. And over the next month or two, obviously I'll be in the yard throughout the days, right? Taking out the old roughage and, you know, maybe even laying down a few bricks, who knows, right? Depending on the weather, right? I'm waiting for that Norway maple to drop its leaves so I can dig them into the ground, because Norway maple leaves are really, really good mulching material to add nutrients into the ground. So that's why I kind of don't mind growing that tree now, because it's a good tree for mulching and adding, again, nutrients to the ground. So I went to a dental clinic today. It's kind of like a non-profit one. It's up by the homeless shelter. And it's only $30 just to have somebody look at this situation here. And whether I'm covered, I don't even know if I'm covered because I haven't done my taxes. So I can afford $30 or whatever it is for some dentist just to give me an idea of what the hell's going on with this. Because, again, this pressure, it could be a lot of it just pain related, right? I don't know. And what else did I do? I am now with my younger daughter working on trying to get some housing, permanent housing for my older daughter and some other people that need housing. So that's on the agenda right now. So I went out looking for, I got an application for an apartment, but the apartment doesn't become available if we're approved until December. All right. So we kind of need something sooner than that. So in the meantime, I'm just helping my older daughter with some food and that type of stuff, right? Laundry and that kind of stuff, right? And just take her to the doctor when I get a chance. You know, trying to help her to get stabilized again. Right? So in the next month or so, maybe she'll have an apartment with some roommates. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm working on right now. And I guess the NDP, now that we have a new government, I have to do my research on it, but there's been some kind of cash infusion within somewhere where the people on the streets are getting a little bit of hope in terms of more opportunity for housing. Now, whether it's subsidized housing or what kind of housing, I don't know. Oftentimes, you know, you get this paperwork and it's propaganda, especially under the BC Liberal government. But we're under the NDP now, so people out in the streets were a little more optimistic, right, in terms of getting housing. But you know, whether it helps my daughter or not, I don't know. All I know is I'm going to try and get her housing where she can try it again. And that's what I'm going to be working on in the next, between now and the next month. Right? Among the other things that I do. So that's it. Oh yeah. And I'm picking all my green tomatoes. That's one bowl. I have another bowl, and then I have my greenhouse full of green tomatoes. They're ripening in there, but it's too cold. I need a heater in there, but I'm not putting no heater in there this year. I'm not running no cords, none of that stuff. Anyway, all right, people. Okay, people. So it's October. Oh, geez, I don't even really know, to be honest with you. 14th. 14th? No, it's the 15th. October 15th, 2017. All these beautiful flowers. For some reason, the flowers are still blooming. I don't know why, but they are. Right? Can you see the flowers? I even got sunflowers over there. So anyway, the chore for the day is I have to empty out this by hand and get my pump and change that little snouty thing, refill it, and get it going again. So, hold on. Okay, people. I think you can see me here. I don't know if this camera's facing the sun or not. I'm trying to avoid that.
Dust.
Yeah.
It's just coming.
Uncle Martine
Door.
brought his work home with him.
Huh?
Can you hear him?
What?
Oh, I'm just talking about Uncle Martine bringing home his work. Guess where I am? In the pond.
That's what and Martin's already done it. He already did all of it.
Make sure when you do stuff like this, you basically keep your mouth closed if you don't want to get sick. The secret to not getting sick when you're out here doing this kind of stuff is keeping your dirty fingers out of your mouth. And when you're working with things that are spraying, keep your mouth closed. Try not to swallow it if it splashes onto your lips. Shit.
What you want?
Hold on a minute.
Huh?
Okay, people, I think you can see me. So basically, the city came by today. Mark, I actually met him. He said he liked the back. He said 8 days ago he came by and da-di-di-da, and anyway, where I'm going to be putting that potato box, he suggested maybe just tarping it up every now and then, like over the winter and that type of thing, which is probably, might even be a good idea, because it will control any weeds that I don't want growing in there, right? Because I want to plant potatoes. So I told him I would go with earth tones, whether it's the green tarps, brown tarp, or those, what do you call those tarps? The army tarps, you know, with the different colors in them, right? And maybe suggested tarping up those toys behind Andre's shed, which is probably, again, just as well because, you know, it gets pretty grody over the winter, right? I was already thinking about doing that, so it's just a matter of finding some tarps. I want to use color tone tarps, earth color tone tarps. I don't want blues, right? So I don't know. It depends on what my finances are like, or if I have anything around the yard temporarily for now. Outside of that, he said that the car, you know, is okay. He thinks I'm going to have problems with it when I spark it up because it's been sitting for a year and a half. You know, something is going to seize up on it. And I said, well, you know, this car over the years, I've owned it for 27. There's been times where it's been parked for a year at a time and I just didn't drive it. So, but ultimately, it depends on the rust, right? And then I told him that I just want to sell it off for a few parts, or maybe as a collector's item or something like that, before I completely haul it out of here. Like those tires are new tires, believe it or not. I bought those tires. I only used them for 1 year on the car because I bought brand new tires. Then I think I parked the car. Yeah, that's what happened. I bought new tires, you know, did motor work, everything, spent all this money on the car. And then I had to park it because we were broke, right? Because all the things were changing in the house. Joan was gone, you know, Sierra was out of the house. It was just me and Uncle John basically covering the household debt and our debt load, right? And so I had to park the car for a while, right? And that's why when in January, I insured the car in January of 2015 because I was going to take John and myself to the doctor because of that flu, but because the flu caught up to him real fast. By the 13th, I said, John, you know, I think maybe you should just go to the hospital instead. It's probably just safer, right? Because, you know. what a mistake. Like I said before, people, that was just a big mistake. But besides that point, I asked him just to put on the file as a note that, you know, I plan on doing some children's activities come spring. And, you know, I don't really want to get harassed over that, right? So we agreed to, hold on a minute. We agreed to cross that bridge when we get to it in terms of what's being left out the night after the, you know, like that night. Like, let's just say we do that spring art for a course of a week, right? You know, what's a good way to put things away where it's easy enough to pull it back out the next day? Because, you know, again, I'm tired, people. I only have so much energy, right? So, we said we'd work on that come springtime when that issue comes up. I might even make a little shelving unit or something. I don't know yet. That's a long way away. I'm not too worried about it right now. So, outside of that, he said it looks nice. He can see that I'm kind of artsy, right? He said there's other people in the neighborhood that tend to go in this direction, like in terms of, you know, taking whatever and, you know, decorating your yard in a artsy sense. So, I guess this saga is almost to an end. I mean, you never know. There still might be something else in there yet. Right. But as far as he was concerned, he was going to try and close the file. So I don't know what that means. You know. And, yeah. So right now I'm just taking the nice weather. Not too cold right now, and I'm just going to work out here. And obviously the pond is the big one because I'm having to clean it, right? You know, clean it and just so it just stays put for the winter. No fish. Even that little black fish got eaten. These raccoons are bad. I think what they do is they get right into the pond and they catch it. So when I make the big pond, I'm going to have to build in a fish shelter. Some little hideout where they can actually go in there and hide in at the very deepest part of the pond to get away from these nasty raccoons. That's why I kind of like these bricks, because I'm going to build up a little bit of a brick wall, you know, not throughout the whole thing, but around certain parts of it. So anyway, I got a bunch of sand that I got to take out here before I start filling this up, and we'll come back. Oh, look what's out, people. That's a wild bee. They like nesting in my yard. Yeah. Their colonies are about 50 or so. They love these flowers. Oops. Bumblebee. Well, it's actually a wild bee. Point is it's still harvesting food for itself. Right? Isn't that beautiful? Hey? Okay, people, it's the 15th of October here. I uploaded the videos onto the computer, but I guess when my little grandson was out here yesterday, you know, he didn't, what do you call it? He didn't have it on record. Because I heard him, but I guess he wasn't recording. He made a mistake. So we're kind of putting up a couple of little signs here for Halloween, but outside of that, not too much, people. But there's the pond. You can see it's nice and clean now, right? Too bad I can't have fish in it, though, for any length of time. Here, let's just take a couple of little angle shots. Look at the pretty flowers. What is it with these flowers, man? They bloom. They start blooming in July. And they just keep blooming. they rebloom themselves. Right? Look at that. Isn't that pretty?